Hey, good morning, everybody. I am back once again, this time a little deeper into the old South 40. This is Robert Phoenix broadcasting live from the Hill Country, where I hope as many of you can attend and will attend the event that's coming up here on September 1st. I'm sorry, October 1st, the first weekend in October. And I'll leave a link for that event as well as the link for the webinar that is happening this Saturday on relocation. And after the events of the last, I'd say 72 hours, that's probably something you want to attend. You want to check it out. You want to get the groundwork. Check your email list. I don't get me. Okay. You're on the list, Kevin. You were definitely on the list. So, all right, I will do that. I'll probably have to send it back. The problem with the email list sometimes is that they wind up in spam, which is not always helpful. So yeah, but I'll check it out. I know that your name is on the list. I'll try again. Good morning, Misty Miner, Mary Grether. Hello. Good morning. How are you today? There she is, Judy Anderson. Glad you're coming this year, Judy. PB, what's happening, PB? There's Lils. There's Danica Rose talking to us, or not talking to us, but being with us from the top of the world. FUP 77, blessings everyone. Blessings right back. We got Carrie Rose in the house. It is a Manic Monday. Great show last night. Oh, thank you. Laura D's here. There's my man Thor by the door. Steve, we're going to be talking today. Ryan, he'll be joining us. He'll be with us. What's happening, Ryan? Steve will be there. Of course, Steve will be there. See, the cool thing about the event is you get to meet all the Chatlandian regulars, or the irregulars, as I like to call them. Frank Bry in the free state of Idaho. What's going on, brother? Good to see you. Let's see, who else do we have here? PMSOLLC. Was it Limited Liability Corporation? So that's a funny word, isn't it? Or term. Limited liability. Interesting. Hey, LLC, if you got it, flaunt it. Okay, so excited to make. Yeah, I tell you, Mr. Introspective Woodworker, you're one of the reasons why I did the event last year. Because I was out there in Philadelphia and you were asking me about it, and I was like, okay, yeah, he really wants to go. Okay, I gotta do this. So you're coming around the second time, but I'm glad you're coming. But you were kind of the inspiration. You were like, I'd say maybe 25% of last year's thing. Am I putting it together? So there is a link if you want to learn about relocation. There is a link on the show page today. You'll be able to just go into my website, read all about it. And some of you have already signed up. Thank you very much. I hope to have as many people as possible. But whoever shows up, and it'll be a very informative time, no doubt. All right, so let's see. We got 32 rocking the chat, probably 32 watching, and maybe a bit less rocking chat. What's going on, Lynn? Good to see you. Morning. Morning. It is beautiful. It is a little muggy here. Feels like fall is starting to creep in as we wind down 2020. Holy shit. I mean, think about this now. It's going to be September. It'll be the ninth month, right? The ninth month. We'll have 3 months left of this year. Wow. You just wrap your head around that. That is just a wow. There's Michael. What's going on, Michael? Megan Scala. I'm here. You are here. Thank you for being here, Megan. The hell ride known as 2020 is pulled into the station. But before it does, we've got a few more stops along the way. No doubt. I'm going to talk about some of those stops this morning. It is muggy here in Arizona. That's unusual. Right? Little muggy in Arizona. It's definitely muggy here for sure. But definitely on the fall tip. So yeah, hey, thanks for showing up last night. Hey, Beth Berry. Nice to see you, Beth. Glad you're here. Apparently, I was unable to show the pictures for Kyle Rittenhouse. I'm going to show them today so that you guys will know what I'm talking about. So here we go. Let's do a little Kyle Rittenhouse visuals. And apparently he is a lifeguard, and he was doing lifeguard duty that day, and then he decided he was going to step into the breach and do a man's job. And then they had a whole bunch of people cleaning graffiti. And by the way, the removal of graffiti is apparently racist. Where are we? Where are we? Okay, so here we go. Yeah, so do you guys know about broken windows? Do you guys know about that? So broken windows, if you don't know about broken windows, I'll just go over very briefly. Broken windows is a study that was done by, I think, a couple of ex-cops or one ex-cop and like maybe an XD or something. They're from Boston. And what they found was that when windows were broken in areas that were, tenement-like areas, then the broken windows encouraged other kinds of vandalism, and not just vandalism, other kinds of behavior that was not, how should we say, civil or orderly. So when New York, when I believe it was Giuliani when he was mayor of New York, and what he did is he brought the broken windows. They'd written a whole book on broken windows, and he brought the broken windows guys into New York for some consultations. And they basically told Giuliani how this thing works, the mindset, and in order to fix the problem, you have to fix the broken windows. And I found out about this through Malcolm Gladwell and his book. I believe it's called The Tipping Point, if I'm not mistaken, which is today's show, The Tipping Point. And Malcolm Gladwell went into great detail about broken windows. So what they did is they made a series of like hardcore set rules. So if there was a subway that had graffiti on it, it was not allowed to leave the station if it had graffiti on it. So if the subways ran late, they ran late, but really what they did is they employed a bunch of people to paint the subways very quickly. So that was one thing. They made sure that none of the subways had any graffiti on them. And they really focused on the subways. There are other elements of the broken window strategy, but it was the subways. And there were a lot of turnstile jumpers. And the turnstile jumpers, of course, would, basically jump the turnstile and get onto the subway for free, ride it for free, and then get off for free. So they never stopped the turnstile jumpers until the broken windows program came in. And then what they did is they had paddy wagons set up outside of the subway stations. And as soon as somebody jumped the turnstile, they pulled them over. I mean, they being the NYPD, they pulled them over and they ran their records. And I say probably 8 times out of 10, they had a record. And in many cases, those records were warrants. So they were able to take them down and warrant them, and put them in jail for I don't know how long. And if their warrant was connected to a case that was like they skipped bail or something like that, they could wind up going to jail for a much longer period of time. So this did a couple things. Number one, those subways, which were everywhere in New York, they were now these kind of rolling symbols and rolling images of order. And word got out that if you jumped, you were quite possibly going to jail. So the jumping stopped. Now this was a huge piece for kind of reclaiming order in New York City, which is what Giuliani did. And New York was kind of a shithole before Giuliani. I'm not here to sing the praises of Giuliani because he was the guy that was on watch for 9/11. But if Steve is there in the chat, he'll tell you about New York during that time. I remember the first time I went to New York. It was 1983. I think it was kind of the I don't think Dinkins was mayor. I think he was gone by then. I forget who was mayor. Abe, it was maybe that Abe character. Anyway, I'll never forget the feeling and vibe in New York in 1983. It was my first time, and it was kind of hell. I have to say, it was kind of hellish. And I think I was there a day. It reminded me of my day in London. I was there a day, and I was with some friends. I was like, I got to get out of here because we didn't have any place to stay, and we didn't know how to navigate the city, and so we wound up catching a bus and going to New Jersey to go visit my uncle. But I'll never forget the last scene that I saw was a guy in Port Authority as we got on that bus. And this guy had his head had been cracked open, was bleeding. He was giving a police report. I saw another guy just completely like, just so fucked up and passed out on the ground. And it was like, that was my party. Those were my parting images of New York. The guy with the cracked and bleeding head giving a police report. And the two weren't connected. They were not connected. And then the dude just, in a comatose state. I'm like, okay, there we go. That's our New York right there. So eventually I went back, and when I went back, I think it was 90. I think I went back in 93. And that was great. I had a hell of a time, great time. And so, yeah. But Giuliani was the order guy, and now it's all descending again. So the broken windows thing is a big deal. And that's one of the planks of the BLM or the socialist movement, is that they want to outlaw the broken windows strategies or broken windows philosophy. They think that that's racist. So this is all social Marxist conditioning. They're just saying, okay, well, we don't want you to have your clean cities. We don't want you to have your clean subway cars. We don't want you to have any order. We want you to get used to disorder. We want you to get used to the filth and the grime that we have to live in every single day. We're going to punish you. And again, this is all essentially constellated around Trump supporters. And I'm not going to make a huge thing about it today with today's show, but I am going to talk about it. So let's get into Kyle here. I'll show you some Kyle Rittenhouse photos. These are the photos that I was not able to share last night. I got 103 people. That's cool. Okay, so this is just and by the way, I'm not a newscaster. I'm just me, and I'm here giving my perceptions and my opinions. Let's get that right out at the beginning of today's show. The disclaimer. Oh, let's do this though. Before I do that, we got to do the little old invocation there. So I'm going to just stop that so you guys can just get the fullness of the back 40 here. Dear blessed and holy Father, Mother God of the great central sun within universal light, which is light of Yeshua Sanada, Emmanuel. We ask that only the highest and best information, truth, and wisdom come through this channel at this time. And that, as a result, everyone who is a part of this stream, either live or otherwise, are blessed and graced with the qualities of strength, truth, courage, tenacity, perception, discernment, commitment, fortitude, will, humor, flexibility, intelligence, intuition, instinct, and above all, love. We ask that any karmic residue be cleansed, purified, clarified, and removed from this stream. So be it. All right, let's get rolling. Back on the case. So these are the images you guys were not able to see last night. I'm going to pop a few of them up there. And Kyle Rittenhouse, like I said, he is a throwback. He's a throwback kid. So here he is. This is him practicing with his AR. And here he is. Now, this is quite interesting. This gets back. This is a 1950s style kid right here. This is a support the blue. The rumor is that his father might be involved in law enforcement. Okay, might be involved in law enforcement. But clearly, he's a kind of a junior law enforcement kid, and sees himself as, who knows? Maybe he goes out on neighborhood watches and stuff. I mean, Maybe this isn't just like a Halloween costume or a fetish. I mean, he might actually have a role with local police. There he is. He's cleaning graffiti right there. Right. I'll show you that picture. This is him. If you haven't seen it, this is kind of a well-known picture at this point. This is the broken windows thing. Yep. So his lawyers are John Pierce and Lynn Wood, and I'm going to show you Lynn Wood's latest tweet, and it's going to go right into what I was talking about last night. Now, I do believe this was the picture in question that I was trying to figure out last night, and I was like, okay, is this him? Is this him? I do believe it's him because there were some photos that were a bit further off, but I do believe this is him. And the glove thing is interesting because he was supposedly helping people throughout the night. He had kind of a medic thing going on. He's a lifeguard, so if he's a lifeguard, he knows CPR. You've got to be able to pass a Red Cross test in order to be a lifeguard. So he had some skills. And you can see the gloves here again. And people were saying that he was wearing the gloves because he didn't want his fingerprints on the weapon, which is just stupid. Totally stupid. And then here we go. This is the wider angle of the graffiti shot. When I thought this was interesting because he is looking in this direction and nobody else is really looking. So we're establishing his persona. And here's another shot from behind. And again, there are a number of people trying to clean the graffiti off. And here's the picture that I really was kind of focusing on last night. He's like that kid in Stand By Me. He's like Jerry, what's his name, when he was chubby and only dreamed about marrying somebody like Rebecca Roman. Yeah. So there he is. There he is. There's your Kyle Rittenhouse image update, and I just wanted to make sure you guys saw those pictures. And again, this is kind of a throwback to a more conservative era, a time in America, and I think some of these Pluto and Sag kids have that. They definitely have that, and I've known quite a few of them, obviously, through my tenure coaching baseball. Here's another picture of him. And there he is. I mean, he's really into this whole kind of law and order thing. You can see him. I guess that's him as a Trump supporter at one of his rallies. Now, one of the things that we're dealing with isn't just this whole idea of anti-Trump and the Trump hate, but it's pretty clear that they have decided to go right after the Trump base and Trump supporters. And this has been going on for a while now. And there was a guy that was killed in Portland last night. Actually, it was a Saturday night, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to let me see if I can dial that thing up. And it's kind of a big deal because it really dovetails with what I was talking about. Let me hold on a second. I just have to re-rack this a little bit. I'm going to play you. Okay, before I leave the Kenosha thing, let me just show you this. Before I leave the Kenosha piece with Kyle Rittenhouse, I'm going to show you this. This is it's not shocking, but this tells you kind of what's going on here. More than half of those arrested during 7 days of Kenosha unrest were from out of town, police chief says. It's just a peaceful protest. That's all it is. Peaceful protest. Don't get your knickers. Don't get your knickers up in your britches, whatever they say. Largely peaceful protests have continued in Kenosha. What are we smoking here? I mean, obviously, this is a website with a particular, I guess it's in quotes, right? Okay. Largely peaceful protests have continued in Kenosha, Wisconsin every night since Jacob Blake was shot by a local cop who reportedly reaching for a knife hidden in a vehicle which was also carrying his children. At the time, Blake has reportedly been paralyzed from the shots for now, at least. But an upsurge of pressure from the ACLU has at least prompted deputies to uncuff him from his hospital bed. The wheels of justice sometimes turn slowly, yet we suspect it's only a matter of time before the charges Blake is facing from an unrelated May assault case are dropped. So he's got issues of domestic abuse and assault. While the violence has toned down somewhat since Kyle Rittenhouse allegedly shot 3 people, killing 2 of them during a confrontation Tuesday night, while he's being charged with first-degree murder, his attorneys are mounting a case of self-defense. So here's the meat. Kenosha police have arrested 175 people, but here's the thing: more than half of them, 102, listed addresses from outside the city. For those who are wondering, Rittenhouse, who lives with his parents over the border in Antioch, Illinois, he's 17, roughly 30 minutes from Kenosha, wasn't included in the data because he was apprehended in Illinois. Now, he has not been extradited. He is at home in Illinois. So Kyle Rittenhouse is not in a jail in Kenosha, Wisconsin, or he's not in a youth facility. Those arrested and processed were from 44 different cities, according to Kenosha Police Chief Daniel Miskinis, who issued a press release late last night. Kenosha Police will not be taking part in the media briefing Monday afternoon in preparation for the presidential visit to Kenosha on Tuesday. Now, there is some chatter that Joe Biden was going to get there ahead of time. That Joe Biden was going to get to Kenosha, that he was going to do a Kenosha pit stop on his basement tour, his 2020 basement tour. Trump is definitely going to be showing up on Tuesday. I think Tony Evers said he wasn't wanted. You're not going to get that far, Tony Evers. You're just not going to get that far telling Trump not to come. You do that, he's going to come. The guy's got a Sun-Uranus conjunction. He's going to be there. So this is going to get very interesting tomorrow when Trump shows up in Kenosha. Like, this is a hot spot. This is a total hot spot. Officials have frequently complained about the fact that Kenosha's position along the highway connecting Chicago and Milwaukee has apparently enticed dozens of professional activists from Chicago and elsewhere to make the trek to Kenosha. Well, they didn't just make the trek. I think they brought them in tour buses. You know, I think a lot of the rock and roll bands who are not touring right now probably gave up their tour buses so that they could, travel in style and comfort on their way to burning down Kenosha. One wonders whether these demonstrations would be carrying on like this if it weren't for this accessibility, but that's a topic for another day. So you get the sense, right? You get the gist. Meanwhile, the media's focus over the weekend shifted to Portland, where a man was killed during a scuffle between Trump supporters and protesters, while Democratic officials have cynically tried to blame Trump for the man's death. So what happened in Portland? I'm going to try to run that down for you, because that's where we're going to go to now. We're going to shift a little bit here. And what happened in Portland on Saturday night is there is a group in Portland that it's a Patriot Prayer group, and they have been around Portland for a while. So I guess their thing is they get together and they walk down the street and pray, or they do something. And I've seen some of their videos before, so it's not like it's kind of an overnight deal. It's been going on for a while. So let's see. Let's get into this a little bit. Let's get into the Portland thing, because it has big ramifications. Here we go. So we're going to go back to, I guess, Truly Times. That was the publication that I was just reading from. I have no idea what this publication is about. It's my first time, so I'm just accessing their info. So let's do this. Let's do another screen share here. Let's get into it. I think I have two of these windows open. Let's see which one is totally open. Here we go. Let's go there. Wheels of the bus go round and round, round and round, round and round. Wheels of the bus go round and round, round and round they go. Well, it seems to be taking forever and a day. There it is. All right, there we are. 100% Antifa. Portland police investigate suspect identified by 4chan. This is amazing. Like 4chan, 8chan, Reddit. These are the people that are doing all the investigative work. It's like the police are not only taking days off when they don't show up, but they're not even really investigating. So here we go. Portland police are investigating a 48-year-old man in the fatal shooting of a Trump supporter on Saturday night, according to Oregon Live, citing sources familiar with the case, not authorized to discuss it. He was also identified as the man captured in photos and video leaving the scene of the shooting just before 9 p.m. Hours after the murder of Patriot Prayer supporter Aaron Danielson, also known as Jay, was captured on grainy film. Users of the popular image board 4chan used video footage and social media evidence to correctly identify the suspected shooter as Michael Forrest Reinhold, a former snowboard pro, construction worker, and self-admitted member of Antifa, reported by Summit News and the Gateway Pundit. Reinhold's sister confirmed it was him. Reinhold's 36-year-old sister said she was awakened just before 8 a.m. Sunday by a threatening phone call from someone who told her that our whole family was in danger unless we turned him over. That's how I found out that her brother was allegedly involved. She told the Oregon Live. She called Sandy police to report the threat. She said once she looked online and saw the screenshots of her brother's photo, she said she called Portland detectives. Can you believe that? Can you imagine that? You got to get it. This is what, like, it's in the morning. First thing you do, you got to go online. You got to see the stuff. You got to look at the footage. And guess what? It's your brother. We reached out to police and confirmed that we recognized Michael in the screenshots. She said she asked that her name not be used because of the threats. Michael Reinhold has been estranged from the family, including her, their parents, and younger brother for at least 3 years. That's about the time Trump got elected. Every revolution needs people that are willing and ready to fight. There are so many of us protesters that are just protesting without a clue of where it will lead. That's just the beginning. That's where the fight starts. If that's as far as you can take it, thank you for your participation. Please stand aside and support the ones who are willing to fight. I am 100% Antifa all the way. I am willing to fight for my brothers and sisters. We do not want violence, but we will not run from it either. Today's protesters and Antifa are brothers in arms. My brothers in arms. So that's him. That's his post. That's his Instagram post. God, you got to love social media. Here it is. I am 100% Antifa. Here's your declaration. It's out there. It's written. Now, the video of the guy who got shot is available. And I'm not sure I'm going to play that video. Meanwhile, Danielson's murder may have been part of an organized hit, as people can be heard in footage of the incident. We've got one right here. We've got a couple of them right here before gunshots could be heard. So here we go. Interestingly, a woman identified as Sierra Boyne, who could be seen rushing to Danielson's aid following the shooting, claims to be a medic who was shooed away from the victim and has asked for donations. What is all this about? There we go. Here's, I guess we could watch the video. Here's the enhanced video. No sound. You see the shots right there? That was a hit. That was a total hit. I'll play it again. You can just see the smoke. We got a couple right here, and then you'll see the smoke right there. Right there, bang. Okay, that's what caliber is that? That is not a 9mm. That's probably a 38 at the very least, possibly a 45. Never before seen footage. Here, let's do this. Okay, this says 1.1 million views. I am going to go back and I'm going to play the video. If you don't want to see this, I don't want to hear the audio on it, then hang out. I'm going to, here we go. You go back here, you get into the Chrome tab. Let's go all the way back from the top. Okay, all the way back from the top. Here we go. I'm going to reload the page. If you don't dig it, if you don't want to see it, you can step away right now. But now there's the audio, so I'm going to play some of the audio. Okay. So again, this is what I was reading, right? 100% Antifa. This is the statement from the shooter. This is, and his sister basically turned him in. Michael Forrest Reinl. So here we go. This is the video footage. I'm showing it to you. Step away. If you think it's too graphic, I'm giving you a warning. If you think it's too graphic, and I'll be done with this part of the stream in about 4 to 5 minutes. Here we go. Okay, so there we go. Now here's the other footage where it says we've got one right here. We've got one right here. I'm going to back this up, and away we go. This is from Ian Miles Chong, who does a lot of posts on Twitter. Hey, we got a couple right here. Hold it out. Right here. There you go. Are you okay? Okay. No. Okay. Hey, watch out, bro. She's trying to help him. She's the fucking next trying to help him. So lay her help. Hey, lay her help.
Do you need the ambulance? Tracy, do you need the ambulance?
Yeah, call the ambulance. Call 911, man. Now they want to call 911. What the fuck is wrong with these people? Sorry, I was trying not to swear today. I'm trying not to swear. I was one of the medics on scene last night. When the man who died last night was shot. I barely had time to get an examination before the cops pushed and batoned me off his body. That man was alive when I left it. Really? Okay. Portland protests. Witness shot in the arm. So I guess this was the guy that was there with him. He's got a wound there. So this is where we're at now. This is where things are. Now, what did I say on last night's show? What was the scenario that I talked about? What did I talk about? I talked about people going to a place like Portland, and they won't be your average. By the way, I'm just going to say this. If you are a Trump supporter and a prayer protester, patriot prayer protester, like, you probably may want to protest somewhere else or pray somewhere else. Unless, of course, you go there for a very, very different mission. If you're going there for a different mission, then that's, if you're going upriver, right, and you're Colonel Willard, that's a very different mission than just going there to pray. You're asking for trouble. You're essentially going into an environment where you, for all intents and purposes, you're unarmed, and you're in an area where people have moved from, baseball bats and chain locks. That sounds to me like a 45 caliber. That's a big load. That is a big bang. That is at the very least, it would be a 38, but that sounds more like a 45 cal. That sounds like a 45 cal center fire, semi-auto. So what did I talk about last night? I talked about the whole next level stuff. And here we go. I'm here to show you the next level stuff. And where is it? Going to be right here. So Lynn Wood, who is the lawyer for Kyle Rittenhouse, had this thread last night. Remember, what did I say last night? I said the next thing you're going to see in a place like Portland is ex-military. They're going to be there. They are going to come to Portland, and they will not play. They will not be a Patriot prayer group. I guarantee you. And they will be doing something very, very different. You will not even see them. You won't see them. These guys have, and this is it right here. This is exactly what I was talking about last night. This is from August 30th, 10:27 p.m. It was after my show. I didn't see it, but here it is. I spoke at length tonight with a close friend who was a Navy SEAL. He enlisted 3 days after 9/11. He fought for America in 3 campaigns: Iraq, Afghanistan, North Africa. Right, North Africa, I guarantee you it's Somalia. With 7 rotations, he fought constantly for freedom for 15 years. Okay, I'm not a big fan of the Iraq War. I'm not a big fan of the Afghanistan War, and I'm certainly not a big fan of the Somalia efforts, because that was being run by the UN and completely destabilizing Somalia. And they back both sides. They back the warlord. They back the sort of the group that's trying to vie for some kind of order. They played that game. The globalists, the NGOs, have played that game in Africa for years. So that's tweet number 1. Tweet number 2: my friend dodged to make bullets count. He saw his brothers in arms die in the field of battle. He is now medically disabled with traumatic brain injuries from suffering multiple explosions over the years of combat. My friend fought hard to keep our country free. Tonight, I listened to him describe how shocked and sick at heart he feels watching attacks on and loss of freedoms occurring in our country today. But my friend still believes in resolve of America to live free. He's ready to fight again for freedom. What did I say last night? This time in America. What did I say last night? This is going to be the next level stuff that you're going to see in Portland. Maybe you won't see it because you're going to be dealing with hardened vets who know how to do things. My friend is but one example of many of which should inspire all freedom-loving Americans to hashtag fight back by his side, this time to keep our country free. I am all in. Are you? ? This is the guy that defended Nick Sandmann, and he also defended Richard Pearl, the guy who is, supposedly the bomber in Atlanta at the Olympics, right? So there it is. There it is. We've got it's just like last week. On Sunday night last week, I said, guess what? This thing is going to go to a whole nother level very quickly. And 24 hours later, bang, it was on. Prior to the show, Jacob Blake ran into the Kenosha police. And then 2 days later, we have Kyle Rittenhouse. And what's going to be happening in Portland? You're going to see ex-military guys in the street. And these guys in the Antifa in Portland, or the BLM people in Portland, they have no idea what's about to hit them. Now, since we're engaged in fourth and fifth generation warfare and asymmetric warfare, apparently, there's going to be obviously an adaptation to whatever happens next. And I would assume that that adaptation would be foreign troops disguised as Antifa members, right? I think that's probably next level. That'll be the next level. So now I think we'll probably have foreign nationals on the streets, whether they're MS-13 or whether they're Chinese nationals. That would be probably next level response on that side of things. And you know, the stuff isn't that hard to figure out, right? And you know, we've got this Mars and Aries, bringing it back to astrology, which is separating away from Saturn. You know, it's breaking away. It is not. It is no longer under the hard angle and in the constraint of Saturn. So until it goes retrograde, which it will on 9/10, I think we're going to watch an escalation. And whether this is all socially engineered or not, because we know that a lot of it is, and a lot of it's being socially engineered on supposedly both sides, right? Supposedly both sides. One side seems to be social engineering a lot more than the other, but even if that's the case, okay, and this thing gets into mission critical territory, like, could we get to a point where it gets so intense and so possibly bloody that we have kind of this moment in time where we recognize what's going on, and then we take one or two steps back? You know, is that possible? Is that possible? Can we get right to the edge of that third rail and we just step back in horror and we say, you know what, we are really, you know, blowing this thing up in a way that is going to be impactful not only for us but our family, our friends. I'm not sure. You know, when I see, you know, all, you know, a number of videos, they keep chanting "Death to America, Death to America, Death to America." You know, it doesn't feel like this thing's going to be reeled back in anytime soon, because there's a very committed group. And I would say that committed group is probably, I'd say they're probably mostly millennials. And I would say that they're probably the millennials that are around 27, 28, 29, right around there. Maybe 26, kind of the younger millennials. Although that guy, Jason Rosenbaum, was 36 years old, and he's a grown-ass man. He's a grown-ass man, and he's, you know, screwing around in a protest in Kenosha. I mean, what is he doing there? I mean, really, you know, it's like, this guy should be theoretically at home. He should theoretically, you know, have a family. He should theoretically be a role model for his kids if he can. But what is he doing? He's up there running around chasing down a 17-year-old. It's just ridiculous, right? This is kind of where we've gotten at this point. And there's more unrest as well. You know, we got issues in the UAE and Dubai. There were a couple explosions overnight. I know some people over there. I'm going to check in on you, see how you're doing, but that's not good. You know, this is all as a response to the so-called peace treaty that was done, you know, through the Trump administration with the UAE and Israel, and that had never ever been done before. So there's some people on the ground, if they're real people or if they're not, just agent provocateurs. Again, you never know, right? We live in the time of spy versus spy and spycraft, but sometimes this stuff is real. And they blew up what was it, a Kentucky Fried Chicken, or they blew up like a fast food restaurant in Dubai. So that's another kind of major piece that's going on right now. And then of course we have the California fires, which are really being underplayed. And there's a member of our community who lost her home in the fire, and she's living out of her car right now. I don't see her in chat, but you know, this is, you know, 6 degrees of separation, right? Easily. Like, I know somebody in Dubai. I know somebody who's in the California fires. You know, this is you know, we're in a crisis period here in America. If you haven't figured it out, we are in crisis city. So I'm not sure if we're going to be able to get get right up to that third rail, you know. I'm not sure we'll be up to that third rail and just look each other in the eye and say, hey, look, you know, we got to stop this shit. I'm not sure if that can happen. There have been too many people that have been inflamed, too many people who have, you know, basically drawn a line in their sand and are on one side, and there's a lot of polarization taking place. Now, I get a lot of emails from people and texts, and you know, they send me things that are, how do I say this? Very enlightened. Like I get a lot of very enlightened material from people. It shows, you know, who hangs out and, you know, who the followers of the show are, and hopefully some of the people that you'll meet here in the Hill Country. But you know, the enlightened stuff is very inspiring, and we all need that inspiration. You know, we all need the inspiration. We all need that sense of, you know, whether it's divine order or personal order or a story that is inspirational in the sense that we can relate to it and gives us something to, you know, it's kind of like we're scaling up the side of a cliff face, you know, and that inspirational moment is where you jam your spike into the cliff face, and you kind of hook your carabiner onto that and allow yourself to be pulled up that cliff face. So the inspirational stuff is important because it's a long climb to the top, very long climb to the top. So I don't want to be dismissive of that. I really don't. And I don't want you guys to not send me inspirational material. Like I'm getting a lot of material coming through about Bobby Kennedy Jr., who I really think is great. I think he's totally great. And I know that he's got some issues with women in the past. And, you know, if that was the least of his issues, man, we wouldn't have a whole lot to worry about, would we? You know, we'd be a lot better off in some ways if that was just really, well, what he had to deal with versus, you know, baby parts or anything related to that. But, you know, Bobby Kennedy Jr. is really inspirational to people right now. And he's fighting the good fight against the vaccines. Now, the vaccine stuff is starting to get very close to home now. I don't know if you're following this, but Hawaii has said that they will pull you over now in Hawaii. They will pull you over, and they will test you. And guess what? They will force vaccinate you in Hawaii. Listen to those hawks right now. They are going after it. I got these two hawks living here. You can probably hear them. Anyway, so Hawaii is starting to imitate Melbourne. Gee, I wonder why. I wonder what the plans for Hawaii are. You know, apparently they're now putting up barricades. Masaki sent me a tweet, not a tweet, but a text, and apparently they're putting barricades up around the State House in Hawaii. They're getting ready. They're getting ready to go after, or actually not even go after. They're getting ready for a siege if they have to. So again, we're watching the slow creep. Okay, Hawaii, they're really rolling out very hardcore fascistic tactics around the virus and the vaccination, and it feels a lot like what's going on in Melbourne. And if that's the case, then you know, what is the hidden hand there? Who's got the hidden hand there? Yeah, probably not that hard to figure out. So we are at a nexus point. This is the nexus point, and like I said, I enjoy a lot. I really enjoy the enlightening material. The Bobby Kennedy stuff is great. He's fighting a good fight. People have to have a sense that somebody's out there for them, that somebody's looking after their best interests. And he seems to be like one of the few people who's actually doing that. It was funny. I was watching that show America last night, the 13-part series. I highly recommend it. It's kind of depressing, but I highly recommend it. There are themes inside of there that you will recognize as being a part of our time, and what they do with information, and how they spin information, and how they blame certain things and certain groups and certain people. It's kind of mind blowing. Anyway, I just finished that last night, and the reason I was bringing it up is I was just flashing on this one scene where Chris Christopherson, who plays this guy who is going to be sort of the lead figure of the revolution, is talking with people, but he does that same thing that Trump does with his hands down around his navel, right? He's got that same kind of thingamabob right there, right there. And it's interesting. You know, people told me last night that the reason why they had the crown because of Charlotte, it's like the Queen City or something like that. Is that it for the RNC logo? Well, I think it's I think the symbol is manifold. Let's put it that way. So the inspirational material is great. You need it. It's your nutrients. It's going to get you through the day. You know, vitamin D, also known as vitamin despair, will not do it. Okay, won't do it. And I'm going to tell you right now that you're going to need more than just inspiration. You're going to need more. You're going to need nerves of steel, and you're going to need resolve, and you're going to need everything that's a part of your toolkit in order to be able to navigate through this time. Okay, I'm just being straight up with you, and I'm giving it to you in a way that is about as Wonder Bread as possible. Okay, about as Wonder Bread as possible. Because let me just give you the kind of the lay of the land here without being too graphic. We're dealing with people who do not play by the same rules that other people play by. They don't do that, right? Their rules or their playbook is by any means necessary. Any means necessary. Right? So they, theoretically, they'll cheat, right? They'll cheat, they'll steal, they'll rob, whatever they need to do in order to move things forward, they will do it. Let me show you a tweet that was since deleted by Ocasio-Cortez. Let me just show this to you if I can find it. It's right here on my desktop. Looks like we're doing okay here with the stream today, huh? Thank God. Friday was brutal. Was a disaster. Man, the browser's getting totally hijacked. So one of the things that they can do with these guys is they can actually spot them with their tattoos. Like if you're going to be a terrorist, you should probably cover up those tattoos. Just saying. Just saying. Sounds like I'm hearing like maybe baby hawks. That's kind of cool, huh? All right, I'm still trying to track down this tweet. See if I can find it. Here it is, right here. All right, nailed it. So this will give you some insight into the no rules engagement. So this is from a Twitter feed. It's vital that governors maintain restrictions on businesses until after the November elections, because economic recovery will help Trump be reelected. A few business closures or job losses is a small price to pay to be free from his presidency. Hashtag keep us closed. Since she deleted it, let's share it for her a few 100,000 times. So this is what we're up against here. We're up against people, at least on one side of the equation, on one side of the Gemini ledger sheet, who don't play by the rules. And you got a bunch of other people who actually play by the rules. You know, they live their life essentially by the rules. You know, they do all the right things. They pay their bills, they pay their taxes, they do all the things that theoretically a good standing member of society will do. They have no idea what they're up against. They have no idea how to deal with it. And they're trying to go through in many cases, legal means, like this guy Joseph Martin, Dr. Joseph Martin. He was a big piece of Plandemic 2. If you haven't seen Plandemic 2, I highly recommend it. And Joseph Martin gets into the legal framework as to how all this stuff happens and works. And there are a lot of people who look at that and say, well, that's really inspirational. And, all we have to do is, get these guys to court and show them the language and show them the precedent. We shut them down. Well, that's not really the case. Okay. Well, number one, we're in a pandemic. So obviously they are not, they're not really rushing to go to court unless, of course, it's Kyle Rittenhouse, in which case they'll make that trial happen lickety split, right? They'll put that on speed dial. The other thing is that we're also dealing with a legal system that's really infested with corrupt judges. So you could have all the evidence. You could have all the evidence. You could have, all the stuff that goes along with presenting a case and having a verdict go in your favor theoretically, and a judge might shoot it down and go and rule in the other direction. Or in the case of somebody like Eric Garcetti, who has decided that he will not be listening to the courts because there was a church in Southern California who actually sued the state. There was a judge that ruled that they could basically keep their church open and they could continue to have their services. And guess what happened? Eric Garcetti is now evicting them from their church, okay? So the legal system theoretically provides us with the ability to address our grievances and then have them ruled upon in a fair and just fashion. But as we are now currently witnessing and have witnessed for a while, that doesn't always work. So when we have somebody like he's a Dr. Joseph Martin, and the guy he's really good. I mean, he knows his shit. He's got the best collection of bow ties since, I don't know, Orville Redenbacher, Tucker Carlson under the age of 30. And at the same time, it's one of those things where it's a double-edged sword, right? Because people get the inspirational bit and say, yes, yes, yes. Somebody gets it. Somebody gets it. They can articulate what's going on. Bang. And then, that material goes into the Sasha Stone World Court thing. And you've got like 12 people, playing, Hollywood Squares. And again, that's not a bad thing. It brings awareness and people need more awareness. But if you or we plan to deal with what's coming based on that, then you got another thing coming. You have another thing coming. Because again, I'm just trying to show you that the other side does not play that way. And we can we can go down that path where we can assert our legal authority, which ultimately I think is probably the best thing to do. But in order to do that, though, there has to be a complete revamping of how that's done. And that's where people like Russell J. Gould come into play, and the quantum language, and dealing with the courts on a very, very different basis than playing by their rules. So again, if we want to deal with that, we've got to change rules of engagement. Period. End of story. And I'd love to get Russell J. Gould on this show to talk with him. Well, that's on the Friday show. The Vietnam War was an example of the rules of engagement. It was a non-winnable war. Essentially, the Viet Cong were able to do whatever they wanted to do, and the United States government could only do said things, right? They couldn't go into Cambodia, couldn't bomb certain things. There were a whole list of rules of engagement, and you cannot win a limited war. You can't win a limited war. It's like if you were playing a game, a board game, and the person you were playing against could cheat all the time, and you're going by the rules of the game, what's going to happen? They're going to win the game. And even if you catch them cheating, they'll be saying, so what? Come on, keep playing, right? So this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with people who have a very, very different mindset, and they have a very, very different kind of, bullet points, pun not intended, for the rules of engagement. And you have to start thinking along those lines. I'm just telling you. You've got to wake up to the fact that this is what's going on. This is this is my revelator moment. Okay. It was really interesting when I had Mickey on the show, and he said that he liked the material from that doctor. I think he's from Italy, talking about how the vaccine was the mark of the beast, and that he liked David Icke, but that their material is a bit polarizing, right? It's a bit stiff. It's like having a really hard whiskey, a really hard whiskey without something to cut it with, like a whiskey and water or whiskey and soda, whatever that is. By the way, I was never a huge whiskey fan growing up. It was not my my beverage of choice. Certainly not Jack Daniels. That shit made me crazy. Anyway, this is but this is so what he was talking about, and I wanted to bring this up with him, and I didn't bring it up with him, but I did bring it up with Heather when our chat goes live. You'll see that that there are essentially, I think, two types of people in the world of information exchange. Okay, what you have is you have revelators, and revelators are they're like prophets. They speak the truth, and it is very difficult to hear them. Very, very difficult to hear them. Unless, of course, you're attuned to that, in which case you'll pick up that signal right away. So I guess you could throw David Icke into the revelator category. And then you have translators. And translators take the information of the revelator, and then they break it down and make it kind of more digestible. So the translator is sort of like the digestive enzyme of the truth. So people like Mickey are translators, and they're trying to find the best thing that they can for their audience and make it as palatable as they can, so as many people can digest that material as possible. So we have the revelator, we have the translator, and then I think probably the third level would be the actional level, which is the demonstrator or the activator. We can put them into two, demonstrator / activator. And these are people of action, right? These are people that either move on the information, from the translator, which comes from the revelator. So it's revelator, translator, activator. And I think that's how this stuff works. And if you're an activator / demonstrator, or you want to demonstrate something, but not go demonstrate, you want to demonstrate something, then you have to find the appropriate kind of ways and means to do that. And this is where people have gotten hung up on the axle. People don't know how to be activators. They don't know how to be demonstrators, because for many people, it's a wilderness territory. It's a wilderness territory, because for most people, they've been engaged in comfort and security for a very, very long time, and dealing with the troubles, the squabbles of day-to-day life, relationships, children, all the things that go along with living in a completely socially engineered society, that these things happen, right? So their efforts have gone towards either resolving them, tending to them, trying to fix the leaks, whatever those are, right? And they may get bits and pieces of information. They may get hit with a lightning bolt of truth every now and then, but they just don't know what to do with it. So here we are, we've got Mars and Aries, and this is a time where, you got to figure out how you can be actionable. And I've been talking about this for a while now. And, and when I say actionable, I always stress, I'm always stressing that your actions need to be responsible. They need to be very responsible. And they don't have to be direct. They don't have to be head on. They don't have to be conflict based. If you're a parent and you want to be actionable, find out what's going on at your school. Find out what's going on with the kids at your school. Find out what their protocols are for, the whole, coronavirus thing. And if you want to be actionable, maybe you get 3 or 4 parents to address some of those things that seem highly unusual, highly suspect. That you're basically prepping your kid to have an overnight somewhere just in case, right? Just in case. Now, who's the sheriff in your town? How does your sheriff feel about that? Why don't you go sit down and have a conversation with your sheriff? See where they're chiming in on, the kiddies overnights. I mean, these are things you can do. You don't have to resort to violence at all. You don't have to resort to violence at all. In fact, they actually want you to resort to violence, right? But you can be actional in very constructive ways. You can be actional in asymmetric ways. You know, take our little masquerade, our unmasquerade last week. Okay? You could do stuff like that. You know, we're in Gemini. You don't have to go head on. You know, angular is better. But again, this is a call to action, ladies and gentlemen. You know, action in your life. Now, when Mars is retrograde, people that are usually action oriented may take more of a back seat, and people who are less action oriented may jump in the front seat. So guess what? If you've been on the sidelines and you're trying to figure out what to do, well, Mars retrograde just might be your cue to enter, I guess, stage right. If we're going to pick a stage direction here. Okay. So just think about it. You know, what is responsibly, effectively, and creatively actionable in your life? And to understand that we're dealing with people that are playing by a very different set of rules. And we're dealing with a system that has rewarded them to play by a very different set of rules, which is why they've been enabled and why things are just spinning what looks like to be out of control. You know, that brings up Yeats's version of the Second Coming, right? That there is no center, that the gyre, the gyre spins endlessly, right? I mean, I'm just paraphrasing the Second Coming. You know, the worst are filled with passion and intensity, while the best I call conviction. It's a pretty good poem. I think one of the best poems of the 20th century. So find that action-oriented element in your life. Find it in your heart. Find it in your chart. It's there. Where is Mars showing up? Right? Where is Mars showing up? Okay, I think I'm good for today. Let's see where we are. Not seeing any video. Well, I hope I remedied that. I don't know what's up. You know, sometimes I hit the prompt and the command on this stuff. I'll put links to everything that I've talked about here today. All the videos, everything you need. I'll put it in the description for the show page. If you want to learn about broken windows, I'll put a link to that. Certainly, that's something you can share with people. It's a very, I think, sane set of rules and order for the world we're living in. Yeah, so I'll put all those links up there. Also, I'm going to put a link in today's page for the event as well. I'm going to link it on Facebook. I'm going to link it on both my Facebook pages. And I'm in this learning curve with my website, and I'm trying to put some because I didn't build a website, and I've got some things to figure out with this website. So I'm going to try to put up my website today. But obviously the webinar is on the website, but you can get there from the link that I posted. Okay. All right. I'll be back tomorrow. Until then, bye for now, everyone. It's Robert Phoenix here. You've been listening to me and 15 Minutes of Flame, right? And you know the drill. Use your head to discern what's real, your heart to accept what's possible. And by the way, just let me say this one more time. I hope as many people as possible can really make it out to the event. You know, and again, we're about a month out, and there's still plenty of cheap flights, and we've got good room space. And Ani is coordinating the room share. I'll have a brief huddle with Ani today, and we'll talk about a few other things as well. All right, love you all. Take good care. See you tomorrow.